My name is Colton Rourke. I'm 57 years old, and until recently I was living what most people would call a comfortable life in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. Hilton Head has always been a quiet place, except during summer when tourists flood the island. I spent 30 years as a financial consultant before I retired early. My days were predictable, peaceful even. I had a nice house with a view of the water, a decent investment portfolio, and a wife I thought I knew. Delaney and I had been married for 19 years. She was 54, worked in marketing management for a mid-sized firm in Savannah, and had 3 kids from her first marriage. I helped raise them. We weren't the kind of couple that posted anniversary photos on social media or renewed our vows on a beach. We were steady, reliable, or so I thought. I'm not the type to throw surprise parties, but when my birthday came around in March of 2024, I figured why not. I invited about 40 people, friends, neighbors, some of Delaney's colleagues, a few guys from my old firm. I rented chairs, hired a caterer, set up a projector for what everyone assumed would be a slideshow of old photos. Standard birthday stuff. Delaney arrived late. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the man standing next to her. "This is Trey Mulligan," she said, smiling a little too brightly. "He just joined our marketing team a few months ago. I thought it'd be nice for him to meet some people outside the office. If you enjoy stories of cold-blooded revenge and gripping plot twists, like this video and subscribe to the channel now. There are brand new, unreleased stories here every day, each one more intense than the last." Trey was 51, tall, with the kind of confident handshake that felt rehearsed. He wore a blazer that was too nice for a casual backyard party, and he drove a rental car. I noticed the plates. They were from North Carolina. Why would someone who supposedly lived in Savannah rent a car from another state? I said nothing. I just watched. Throughout the evening, I saw how they stood next to each other. Not touching, but close. Too close. The way she laughed at his jokes, the way he refilled her wine glass without asking. Small things. But I've spent my entire career reading patterns in numbers, in behavior, in risk assessment. And this pattern was clear. It wasn't the first red flag. Over the past 6 months, Delaney had been taking more business trips than usual. She'd come home from work later, sometimes with vague explanations about client meetings or strategy sessions. I'd seen her delete text messages before putting her phone down. Once I asked her about it directly. "It's just work stuff," she said. "Confidential client communication. You know how it is." I didn't push. Not then. But I started paying attention. I checked our credit card statements. There were charges from small towns I'd never heard of. Asheville, North Carolina, showed up 3 times in 2 months. Hotels, restaurants. Nothing extravagant, but consistent. I asked her about Asheville. "Seminar," she said. "Regional marketing summit, boring stuff." I looked it up. There was no summit. No conference, no event at all. That's when I hired someone. A private investigator named Rick Danvers, former state trooper, ran a small firm out of Charleston. I gave him the dates, the hotel names, everything I had. 2 weeks later, he sent me a flash drive. Rick used discrete high-definition cameras with date-embedded timestamps. The footage was clear. Delaney and Trey entering the same hotel room in Asheville. 3 nights in a row. Different angles, precise documentation. They weren't even trying to hide it. I never confronted her. I didn't yell or throw her things on the lawn. I just made a plan. I filed for divorce quietly, worked with a lawyer to get all the paperwork in order. I made copies of the evidence, backed it up in 3 different places, and then I waited for the right moment. My birthday party was that moment. After dinner, after the small talk and the toasts, I stood up and tapped my glass. Everyone went quiet. "I just want to thank you all for coming tonight," I said. "I thought it'd be nice to share a little retrospective, a look back at some of the memories Delaney and I have built over the years." I turned on the projector. The first image that appeared wasn't a wedding photo. It was a still frame from the hotel surveillance footage. Delaney and Trey standing in a hallway, her hand on his chest. The room went dead silent. I clicked to the next image, then the next. Timestamps. Different nights, same room. The evidence played out in front of 40 people, methodical and undeniable. Delaney's face went white. Trey stood up and walked out before the third slide even loaded. Nobody stopped him. I turned off the projector, picked up the envelope I'd placed on the side table earlier and set it on top of the birthday cake. "Divorce papers," I said calmly. "Already filed." Then I grabbed my jacket and walked out of my own party. Nobody said a word. The next morning, my phone started ringing at 6 a.m. It was Delaney. I didn't answer. She called 11 more times before noon. Then came the text messages. "Colton, please, we need to talk." "It's not what it looked like." "I can explain everything." I deleted them without responding. By the afternoon, her sister Karen showed up at my door. She looked uncomfortable, like she'd been sent on a mission she didn't want to be part of. "Colton, Delaney's devastated," she said. "She made a mistake. Can't you at least hear her out?" "I already heard everything I needed to," I said. "The evidence speaks for itself." Karen sighed. She said it was just a moment of weakness, that Trey pursued her and she got confused. 3 trips to Asheville isn't a moment, I said. That's a pattern, that's a choice. She didn't have an answer for that. What Karen didn't know, what nobody knew yet, was what else I'd uncovered. When Rick Danvers sent me that surveillance footage, he included something extra. Financial records. Turns out Delaney and Trey had opened a joint business account 4 months earlier. They were planning to open a coffee shop in Savannah, a small place near the waterfront, trendy and overpriced, the kind of spot that attracts tourists and locals with too much disposable income. They'd pooled together nearly $80,000. Half of it came from Delaney's personal savings, money I didn't even know she'd been hiding. The other half came from Trey, who apparently had investors lined up. They'd already signed a lease, filed for a business license, and ordered equipment. This wasn't just an affair. This was a full-blown exit strategy. I made copies of everything. Bank statements, LLC registration documents, email exchanges between Delaney and a commercial real estate agent. I handed it all to my lawyer, David Brennan, a guy I'd worked with on estate planning years ago. He was thorough, sharp, and didn't waste time on sympathy. "This is good," he said, flipping through the paperwork. "Really good. She's been diverting marital assets into a business venture without your knowledge or consent. That's grounds for financial misconduct in the divorce. You'll get more than half." "I don't want more than half," I said. "I just want what's fair. And I want her to understand there are consequences." David nodded. "She will." Within a week, Delaney's employer got an anonymous tip. Someone, definitely not me, but maybe someone Rick knew, sent them copies of the surveillance footage along with a detailed timeline of Delaney and Trey's business dealings. The company had a strict ethics policy. Romantic relationships between employees had to be disclosed to HR, especially when it involved financial entanglements that could create conflicts of interest. Delaney was suspended pending an internal investigation. Trey was fired outright. He'd been with the company less than 6 months and was still in his probationary period. They didn't owe him an explanation. The coffee shop deal fell apart immediately. Trey's investors pulled out once the scandal hit. Nobody wants to back a business run by 2 people who just torpedoed their careers and reputations over an affair. The lease was canceled, the equipment orders refunded. $80,000 down the drain, just like that. I found out later that Trey tried to blame Delaney. He told people she'd been the one pursuing him, that she'd manipulated him into the business venture, that he was just a victim of her lies. It didn't matter. The damage was done. His name was mud in Savannah's business community, and hers wasn't much better. Delaney kept trying to reach me. She showed up at the house twice. The first time I didn't answer the door. The second time I opened it just long enough to hand her a box with her things, clothes, toiletries, a few books she'd left behind. "Colton, please," she said, her voice cracking. "I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can—" "There's nothing to fix," I said. "You made your choice. Now you live with it." "It wasn't a choice," she said. "I was confused. I felt unappreciated. You were always so distant, So focused on your own things. So you had an affair and hid money from me, I said flatly. Yeah, that sounds like my fault. She started crying. I closed the door. The truth is, I wasn't angry, not in the way people expected. I wasn't throwing things or screaming or drinking myself into a stupor. I was just done. I'd already grieved long before that night. Anger is exhausting. It clouds your judgment, and I needed my judgment sharp. The divorce moved quickly. South Carolina has a 1-year separation requirement for no-fault divorce, but we weren't going that route. I filed on grounds of adultery, which meant we could skip the waiting period. Delaney didn't contest it. She knew she couldn't. David negotiated the settlement with surgical precision. I kept the house, my retirement accounts, and the investment portfolio. Delaney got her car, whatever was left in her personal accounts after the coffee shop fiasco, and a small share of our joint savings. She also had to cover half of her own legal fees, which wasn't cheap. By mid-May of 2024, less than 2 months after the party, the divorce was finalized. I didn't celebrate. I just went back to my routine. I started playing guitar again, something I hadn't done in years. Joined a local group that met every Thursday night at a bar downtown. We played old country songs, some blues, nothing fancy. It felt good to have something that was mine again. Delaney moved in with her sister in Savannah. She couldn't afford rent on her own, not without a steady income. She'd been officially terminated from her job after the investigation concluded. The company found that she'd violated multiple policies: undisclosed relationships, misuse of company time, and potential conflicts of interest related to vendor relationships Trey had been managing. She tried to find work, sent out resumes, went to interviews. But Savannah's a small city and word travels fast. People knew what had happened. Her professional reputation was shot. Trey disappeared entirely. Last I heard, he'd moved back to North Carolina, somewhere near Raleigh. He wasn't on LinkedIn anymore. His social media accounts went dark. He just vanished. And me? I started a remote financial consulting business. Nothing huge, just a few clients here and there, people I'd worked with over the years who still trusted my advice. Gave me something to do, kept my mind sharp, and brought in enough income to maintain my lifestyle without dipping into savings. I didn't need revenge. The truth had done all the work for me. People ask me sometimes if I feel bad about what happened, if I think I was too harsh, too cold, too calculated. The answer is no. I didn't destroy Delaney's life. She did that herself. I just made sure everyone could see it clearly. The weeks after the divorce were quiet. I fell into a rhythm that felt almost meditative. I'd wake up around 7, make coffee, sit on the back deck, and watch the sun come up over the water. Then I'd work for a few hours, take a walk, maybe play some guitar. Simple things. The kind of life I should have been living all along. My consulting business picked up faster than I expected. Turns out people respected what I'd done. Not the public humiliation part, though some did find that satisfying, but the way I'd handled it. Calm. Methodical. Professional. In the financial world, that kind of discipline matters. Clients started reaching out. Old colleagues referred people my way. By June, I had a steady roster of 10 clients, enough to keep me busy without overwhelming me. One of them, a guy named Phil Garrett who ran a small wealth management firm in Charleston, even offered me a partnership. I turned it down. I didn't want to be tied to an office again. But the fact that he asked meant something. It meant my reputation was intact. Better than intact, actually. Meanwhile, Delaney's life continued falling apart. I didn't go looking for updates. I didn't need to. Hilton Head Island and Savannah are part of the same social ecosystem. People talk. And when someone falls from grace the way Delaney did, everyone has something to say about it. Karen, Delaney's sister, ran into one of our mutual friends at a grocery store in late June. According to the friend, who called me later that day, probably because she couldn't resist sharing the gossip, Delaney was barely getting by. She'd applied to dozens of marketing positions, but nobody would hire her. The scandal had spread too far. A simple Google search of her name brought up forum posts, local news mentions, and enough whispers to make any HR department nervous. She'd taken a job at a department store in Savannah. Sales associate. Making around $13 an hour, part-time hours. For someone who used to manage a six-figure marketing budget, it had to sting. Trey wasn't doing much better. I didn't hear much about him directly, but Rick Danvers, who I kept on retainer for a few months just in case, did some digging. Trey had moved back to Raleigh like I'd heard, but he wasn't working in marketing anymore. He'd taken a job at a logistics company, doing basic operations coordination. Nothing glamorous. Nothing close to what he'd been doing before. The coffee shop dream was dead. The business account they'd opened had been drained to cover cancellation fees, legal costs, and other expenses. Whatever was left, they split. It wasn't much. And the relationship? That didn't last either. According to Karen, who apparently couldn't stop updating people about her sister's misery, Trey broke things off with Delaney in early July. He blamed her for the fallout, said she'd been reckless, said associating with her was damaging his ability to rebuild. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. I know all of this because Karen reached out to me in August. She sent me a text, short, polite, but clearly desperate. Colton, I know you don't owe Delaney anything, but she's really struggling. She's depressed, she's broke, and she doesn't know how to move forward. I'm not asking you to take her back or forgive her. I'm just asking if there's any way you could help her find some stability. Maybe a reference for a job, or some financial advice. Anything. I read the message twice. Then I deleted it. I wasn't going to be cruel, but I also wasn't going to be her safety net. She'd made decisions that destroyed our marriage, endangered our financial security, and humiliated both of us in front of our entire community. Those decisions had consequences. She needed to face them, not run from them. A week later, I ran into one of Delaney's old coworkers at a restaurant in Bluffton. Her name was Monica, and she'd been at the birthday party. She recognized me immediately and came over to my table. "Colton," she said, a little awkwardly. "I just wanted to say what you did at the party, it took guts. A lot of us respected that." "Thanks," I said. I wasn't trying to make a statement. I just wanted the truth out there. "Well, it worked," she said. "Delaney's name is mud at the company. Nobody talks to her anymore. And Trey, he's gone, completely off the radar." "Good," I said. Monica hesitated, then leaned in a little closer. "Look, I don't know if this matters to you, but Delaney's been telling people that you set her up, that you manipulated the situation to make her look bad, that you're vindictive." I almost laughed. "She can tell people whatever she wants. The evidence speaks for itself." "I know," Monica said. "We all know. But she's not letting it go. She's convinced herself that she's the victim here." "That's not my problem," I said. And it wasn't. Delaney could rewrite the story in her head however she wanted. It wouldn't change the facts. It wouldn't change what she did. And it definitely wouldn't change the outcome. By September, I'd stopped hearing about her altogether. The gossip had dried up. People had moved on to other scandals, other stories. Delaney had faded into the background. Just another cautionary tale about what happens when you betray the wrong person. I never gloated. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt free. I started dating again in October of 2024. Nothing serious, just casual dinners with a woman named Linda I'd met through the guitar group. She was 52, divorced, worked as a real estate agent in Beaufort. We had good conversations, shared similar values, and didn't rush into anything. It was nice. Easy. One evening, Linda asked me about my ex-wife. We were sitting on my deck watching the sunset, and she'd noticed I never talked about her. "It's not a painful subject," I said. "It's just not worth talking about." "That's a healthy way to look at it," Linda said. "I spent 19 years with someone who wasn't who I thought she was," I said. "When I found out the truth, I dealt with it and moved on. That's all there is to it." "Most people can't do that," Linda said. "They get stuck in the anger, or the sadness, or the need for revenge." "I got my revenge," I said. "I told the truth. That was enough." Linda smiled. "I like that." So did I. The thing about revenge is that most people do it wrong. They yell, they fight, they try to hurt the other person as much as they've been hurt. But that doesn't work. It just makes you look unhinged. It gives the other person ammunition to paint you as the villain. The better way, the smarter way, is to stay calm. Gather evidence. Let the truth do the work. And then step back and let the consequences unfold naturally. Delaney destroyed herself. Trey destroyed himself. I didn't have to lift a finger. I just had to make sure everyone could see what they'd done. And now, about a year and a half after that birthday party, I'm still here, still in my house, still running my business, still playing guitar on Thursday nights, still living my life, unbothered and unburdened. That's the real victory. It's October of 2025 now. Almost 20 months since that birthday party. 20 months since I stood in front of 40 people and showed them exactly who Delaney really was. 20 months since I walked out of my own celebration and never looked back. Life has a funny way of settling into place when you stop fighting it. I'm 58 now, and I can honestly say I'm happier than I've been in decades. The consulting business is thriving. I've got 15 regular clients, and I've started offering financial literacy workshops for retirees in the Hilton Head area. It's rewarding work. People appreciate straightforward advice from someone who's been through the ups and downs. My last birthday, in March of this year, was the first in a long time where I actually felt at peace. No drama, no surprises. Just a quiet dinner with Linda and a few close friends. Linda and I are still together. We're taking it slow, which suits both of us just fine. She's got her own house in Beaufort. I've got mine here on the island, and we see each other a few times a week. No pressure, no drama, no hidden agendas. Just two people enjoying each other's company. It's what a relationship should be. Honest, simple, and built on mutual respect. The guitar group expanded. We're up to 8 regulars now, and we've started playing at a local brewery on Friday nights. Nothing fancy, just a couple of sets of classic rock and country covers. But the crowd enjoys it, and I enjoy it. It's become one of the highlights of my week. As for Delaney, I haven't seen her in person since the day I handed her that box of belongings. But I've heard things. Hilton Head and Savannah are small worlds, and information has a way of circulating whether you want it to or not. Last I heard, and this was about 4 months ago, she was still living with Karen in Savannah. Still working retail, still struggling to make ends meet. Karen had mentioned to a mutual acquaintance that Delaney was seeing a therapist, trying to work through everything that had happened. I hope that's true. I hope she's getting help. Not because I feel sorry for her, but because everyone deserves a chance to figure out where they went wrong and try to do better. But that's her journey, not mine. Trey, from what I understand, is still in Raleigh, still keeping a low profile. I heard through Rick Danvers, who I'd stopped paying months ago, but who occasionally sends me updates out of what I assume is professional courtesy, that Trey got engaged to someone he met at his logistics job. A woman named Ashley, mid-40s, works in human resources. They're planning a quiet wedding sometime in 2026. Good for him, I guess. I don't wish him ill. I don't wish him well either. He's just a person who made bad choices and is now living with the consequences. That's all there is to it. The interesting thing is how people treat me now. In the beginning, right after the party, there was a lot of gossip. Some people thought I was a hero. Others thought I was cruel. A few thought I should have handled it privately, kept it behind closed doors, worked it out like adults. But over time, the consensus shifted. People came to respect what I did, not because it was flashy or dramatic, but because it was honest. I didn't lie. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't manipulate the narrative. I just presented the facts and let everyone draw their own conclusions. And the facts were damning. There's a lesson in that, I think. In a world where everyone's trying to spin their story, to control the narrative, to make themselves look good no matter what, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just tell the truth. No embellishments, no excuses, just the raw, unfiltered reality. That's what I did. And it worked. I got a message a few weeks ago from one of Delaney's kids, her daughter, Emily, who's 32 now and lives in Charlotte with her husband and 2 young kids. We'd always gotten along well when she was younger. I helped pay for part of her college tuition, drove her to the airport when she studied abroad in Spain, Gave her advice when she was buying her first house. The message was short. Colton, I know things ended badly between you and Mom. I'm not taking sides. But I wanted you to know that I appreciate everything you did for me over the years. You were a good stepdad, and I'm sorry about how everything turned out. I hope you're doing well. I wrote back. Thanks, Emily. I appreciate that. I'm doing great. I hope you and your family are doing well, too. Take care. That was it. No need to rehash the past. No need to drag her into the middle of it. She was a good kid, and she didn't deserve to be caught in the crossfire of her mother's mistakes. Her message reminded me that not everything from that marriage was a mistake. A few days after that, I was at the grocery store and ran into Phil Garrett, the guy who'd offered me the partnership back in June of 2024. He was picking up steaks for a barbecue, and we got to talking in the meat aisle. Colton, I've been meaning to reach out, he said. That offer I made, if you're ever interested in something more structured, it's still on the table. You've built a hell of a reputation over the past year and a half. People trust you. That's worth a lot in this business. I appreciate that, Phil, I said. But I'm pretty content with how things are right now. The flexibility works for me. I get it, he said. Just know the door's open if you ever change your mind. We shook hands, and he went back to choosing ribeyes. That's the thing about integrity. It opens doors. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because people recognize consistency when they see it. They recognize someone who doesn't cut corners, who doesn't make excuses, who doesn't play games. I spent 19 years married to someone who played games, who hid things, who lied, who built a secret life behind my back. And when it all came crashing down, she tried to spin it like I was the bad guy. Like I'd somehow forced her into the arms of another man. Like I'd pushed her to steal money and plan a future without me. But the evidence didn't support that story. The evidence supported the truth. And the truth was simple. She cheated, she lied, and she got caught. That's it. No gray area, no ambiguity. Just facts. And now, almost 20 months later, I'm living proof that you don't need to scream or fight or destroy someone to get justice. You just need to stay calm, document everything, and let the consequences unfold naturally. Delaney lost her job, her reputation, her relationship, and her financial stability. Trey lost his career and his credibility. And me? I gained my freedom, my peace of mind, and a life I actually enjoy living. I didn't win because I was cruel. I won because I was patient. I won because I was prepared. And I won because I understood something that a lot of people don't. The truth is the most powerful weapon you'll ever have. So if you're ever in a situation like mine, if someone betrays you, lies to you, tries to take advantage of you, don't panic. Don't lash out. Don't let your emotions make decisions for you. Just gather the facts, build your case, and when the moment is right, show everyone exactly what happened. The rest will take care of itself. Revenge ends when the truth speaks for itself. If you enjoyed this story, like this video, and leave a comment letting me know what you thought. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to get alerts for new stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.